Continuing from last chapter, Xiao Yan absorbed the essence of the Dragon Soul's flames and successfully broke through to the realm of 4-star Do-D. Some people did not accept Xiao Yan's ranking and sought opportunities to challenge him. Xiao Yan displayed the Fire Lotus, which integrated 23 heavenly flames. Damn brat! Xuni cursed loudly, his voice filled with fury as he struggled to manage the terrifying flames raging within his body. At the same time, he had no choice but to divert his strength to deal with Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan had long anticipated that Xuni, with his arrogant nature, would struggle with the invasive power of the heavenly flames. What he hadn't expected was how much he underestimated the force of these 23 different flames. However, Xiao Yan had no time to celebrate. With the ancient ruler of heavenly flames in hand, he unleashed an even greater surge of fiery power, launching another attack toward Xuni. Despite the success of his previous strike, Xiao Yan dared not lower his guard. After all, Xuni possessed the strength of a late-stage 4-star Do-D. Even though Xiao Yan had broken through to the early stage of 4-star Do-D, he couldn't afford to be careless. Moreover, Xuni ranked only 11th among the powerful opponents Xiao Yan had yet to face. There were still 9 more formidable foes ahead of him. Revealing too much of his strength at this point would be foolish. Xiao Yan was determined to rely on a clever strategy to secure victory, keeping his true power hidden for the final showdown when it could truly catch his enemies off guard. The massive ancient ruler of heavenly flames in Xiao Yan's hand roared to life, its multicolored flames forming a gigantic fire dragon that shot toward Xuni, its gaping maw full of savage intent. Twin dragons drawing water. Xuni bellowed in return, channeling his overwhelming Do-Chi into the 2 giant axes he wielded. He charged head-on toward Xiao Yan's fiery assault. Twin dragons drawing water was a technique where Xuni gathered 2 entirely different types of energy in his axes, combining them to unleash an explosive force that would overwhelm his opponent. Boom, boom, boom. The fearsome fire dragon from Xiao Yan's ancient ruler clashed violently with Xuni's gleaming axes, igniting a series of devastating firestorms that spread out in waves. In the next moment, both combatants were blown backward by the impact, retreating in unison from the force of their attacks. Xuni fared the worst. Even though he was a late-stage 4-star Do-D, the 23 colored flames from Xiao Yan's ancient ruler had already caused significant turmoil within his body during their first exchange. As a result, Xuni couldn't unleash his full strength against Xiao Yan, having to split his focus to defend against the flames' invasive power. If he didn't dedicate part of his energy to defense, the consequences could be catastrophic. Xuni staggered back dozens of steps before regaining his balance. His twin axes slammed into the ground, and the aura around his body surged as he prepared to launch a devastating counterattack. On the other side, Xiao Yan only needed a few steps to steady himself, though his hand, still gripping the ancient ruler, trembled slightly from the intense exchange with Xuni. The lingering effects of their clash were evident. Xuni truly lives up to his reputation as a late-stage 4-star Do-D. Even with my heavenly flames wreaking havoc in his body, he can still muster such terrifying strength, Xiao Yan murmured to himself, his eyes locking onto Xuni. He noticed the 23 colored flames swirling around Xuni's body, gradually beginning to coalesce. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Just a little more. Xiao Yan's aura spiked once again, rising to the early stage of 4-star Do-D as the ancient ruler of heavenly flames in his hand began to glow, its flames now a brilliant, terrifying white. What is Xiao Yan smiling about? Xuni wondered in confusion. He didn't have the luxury of pondering it for long, though, as he worked to compress the wild flames ravaging his body into a single point, hoping to snuff them out in one decisive move. Xuni's internal state was chaotic. His arms, chest, and legs all flickered with flames of various colors. A closer look revealed that there were indeed 23 different shades of fire. Xuni was intent on compressing all these flames into one spot before extinguishing them entirely. These flames were violent by nature, clashing with each other constantly. If he could gather them into one place, their internal resistance might give him the chance to snuff them out in one fell swoop. Beads of sweat formed on Xuni's forehead as he struggled with the flames. The task was grueling, but at last, he succeeded. His skin returned to its normal color, except for a small patch on his thigh, which still shimmered with multicolored fire. Now it's time to finish them off. These flames are powerful, but it's too bad they had to face me, Xuni muttered to himself as he prepared to eliminate the flames within him once and for all. But just as Xuni was about to make his move, Xiao Yan struck. He hadn't been idle during Xuni's efforts. After briefly resting, Xiao Yan had gathered all his Do Qi into the ancient ruler of heavenly flames. His eyes snapped open, and with a burst of speed, he charged directly toward Xuni's position. The ancient ruler of heavenly flames in Xiao Yan's hand not only glowed brightly but radiated an overwhelming aura of destruction. First layer of the seven-layered Skybreaker ruler. His voice boomed with authority, and a colossal streak of fiery energy, spanning 100 feet, descended mercilessly toward Xuni. Mountain splitting. Xuni immediately recognized Xiao Yan's intentions. After all, this battle was taking place within the forest of EngSubs, part of the selection trials, where countless participants were eager to steal their points. The longer the fight dragged on, the more dangerous their situation became. Despite Xiao Yan's powerful strike, Xuni, a late-stage 4-star Do D, considered it an overreaction. He had noticed Xiao Yan's Do Qi weakening gradually. Xuni was confident that victory would be his. He compressed the 23 flames raging inside his body, gripped his giant axes, and with a forceful motion, lifted them from the ground. He clasped his hands together, and the two axes merged into one, forming an enormous energy axe, just as large as Xiao Yan's fiery attack. Boom, boom, boom. The two terrifying forces collided in the sky, drawing the attention of countless low-tier magical beasts and ghostly entities in the surrounding forest, who fled in terror. At the point where their attacks clashed, a massive tornado, 1,000 feet high, slowly began to take shape. Xiao Yan and Xuni were locked in a standoff within the eye of the swirling vortex, one above and one below. You damn brat. This time next year will mark the anniversary of your death. Xuni sneered viciously. With a cruel smile, he summoned even greater power from within, channeling it through his massive axe to strike at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's brow furrowed as he sensed the terrifying strength still radiating from Xuni, despite expending nearly half of his Do Qi on the previous 7-layered Skybreaker ruler. Just as Xuni's attack was about to land, Xiao Yan suddenly broke into a laugh. I think it's just about time. Lotus of Desolation. If not now, when? As Xiao Yan's voice echoed across the battlefield, a terrifying surge of energy erupted from the compressed, invisible spot on Xuni's thigh, where the 23 flames had been fused together. Xuni, who had been so sure of his victory, felt a cold chill run down his spine. For the first time, a sense of impending doom crept into his heart. In the moment he thought he could finish Xiao Yan with one decisive blow, the fusion of those 23 flames within his body reached critical mass and detonated with devastating force. The power of the explosion caught him completely off guard. Xuni had no time to question how the chaotic, violent flames inside him had suddenly merged so seamlessly. All he could do was channel every ounce of his Do Qi to his thigh in a desperate attempt to suppress the explosion. But even for a late-stage 4-star Do D, dealing with such a force was a monumental challenge. Boom, boom, boom. The explosions rippled out instantly, enveloping Xuni in thick clouds of smoke. The searing heat caused Uru and Mu Feng, watching from a distance, to pale in shock. The temperature was intense, even for experienced fighters like them. Take your hatred with you to the underworld. Xiao Yan sneered coldly. His powerful soul energy coalesced into an invisible strike that surged toward Xuni, now trapped in the center of the explosion. Even though the destructive force of the 23 fused flames was immense, Xiao Yan remained cautious. After all, Xuni was a formidable late-stage 4-star Do D. Without hesitation, Xiao Yan unleashed another devastating attack, targeting the very core of the explosion where Xuni was desperately defending himself. Netherworld Heavenly Wrath. A fearsome attack shot straight at Xuni, colliding heavily with his very soul. Though Xuni was engulfed in smoke and flames, Xiao Yan's attack was unerring, guided by his formidable soul power. He knew exactly where Xuni was within the chaos and struck with precision. At the heart of the explosion, Xuni focused all his attention on resisting the violent energy erupting from his thigh. The explosion originated from within his own body, and he had a slim chance of saving his leg if he mustered all his strength. For the moment, Xiao Yan was the least of his concerns. But at that critical moment, an invisible strike pierced deep into Xuni's soul, rendering his body immobile for a split second, as though he had suffered a catastrophic injury. That single moment of paralysis allowed the raging flames to ravage Xuni's body with unstoppable force. As Xuni regained consciousness, he let out a furious roar. Boom, boom, boom. The explosions raged for several minutes before finally subsiding. As the smoke cleared, a faint silhouette emerged. Yu and Mu Feng, watching anxiously from a distance, felt a jolt of recognition. It was Xuni, but he was in terrible shape. His body was covered in wounds, blood flowing freely from cuts all over. His hands, in particular, were soaked in blood, a clear sign of the immense struggle he had faced against the flames. Upon closer inspection, they were shocked to discover that Xuni was standing on one leg. A second glance revealed that his right leg was completely missing, leaving only a steady drip of blood from where it had once been. Xuni's once formidable aura had diminished severely. There was no longer any trace of the mighty late-stage 4-star Do-D he had been moments earlier. The explosion had wreaked havoc on his body, and the remaining flames danced ominously around his leg. Xuni's face twisted in a grotesque snarl as he glared at Xiao Yan, his voice a low, furious growl. "You little bastard, if I don't kill you today, I swear I'm no longer human." That depends on whether you're even capable of it," Xiao Yan retorted coldly, summoning a handful of pills and swallowing them without hesitation as he continued to observe Xuni carefully. The 23 different flames Xiao Yan had unleashed earlier were no accident. He had deliberately used them to put pressure on Xuni and, at the same time, lay the groundwork for the later explosive fusion within Xuni's body. It wasn't that Xiao Yan feared Xuni. In fact, he had sensed several individuals even more powerful than Xuni closing in on their location. These were undoubtedly the top-ranked competitors in the points-snatching competition, which made revealing too many of his trump cards unwise. Thus, Xiao Yan set this trap. What surprised him, however, was that Xuni hadn't immediately expelled the flames from his body. Xiao Yan's original intent had merely been to distract him, but Xuni had instead attempted to compress and fuse the flames, hoping to refine and absorb them into his own strength. That was truly audacious, but Xuni had miscalculated. The moment the 23 flames entered Xiao Yan's body, his flame mantra immediately erased their chaotic nature, fusing them into a massive destructive force. And while Xuni's formidable strength as a late-stage 4-star Do-D might have allowed him to survive the explosion, Xiao Yan's sudden netherworld heavenly wrath attack caught him off guard, delivering the fatal blow. Yet Xuni was no ordinary opponent. In a desperate act of survival, when the netherworld heavenly wrath caused his Do-Chi to falter and the destructive flames began consuming his right leg, he decisively swung his giant axe and severed his leg, cutting off the spread of the flames. That was the scene before them now. Xiao Yan couldn't help but admire Xuni's decisiveness, even though it came at the cost of injuring his own life force. Such a drastic move showed that Xuni wasn't one to hesitate unless there was no other choice. It was the only way to halt the terrifying fusion of the 23 flames. If he hadn't acted, the destructive force would have spread throughout his body, and no further attacks would have been necessary to bring about Xuni's death. After a brief moment of reflection, Xiao Yan felt his Do-Chi recover sufficiently. He began to approach Xuni slowly. Despite halting the spread of the flames, Xuni's self-amputation had injured his core, reducing his strength to that of a mid-stage 4-star Do-D. Even without this, Xiao Yan was confident he could now finish Xuni off. The explosion had weakened Xuni greatly, leaving him little more than a spent force. "It seems I've underestimated you," Xuni said weakly. His earlier ferocity had vanished, replaced by a calm resignation. "A mere peak 3-star Do-D with Yuhui's points. You do have some skill. But you've also underestimated me, Xuni." Late stage 4-star Do D, Xuni of the Mountain Splitting Clan, ranked 11th in the competition. I cannot lose. I will not be defeated by a mere early stage 4-star Do D. I will not lose. Xuni roared maniacally, his eyes wide with fury. The Mountain Splitting Clan does not tolerate the weak. As he shouted, a terrifying wave of energy began to surge outward from him. Not good. Run. Xiao Yan yelled, wasting no time. He grabbed Mu Feng and Yuru by the arms, fleeing the scene as quickly as possible. Xuni, now dragging his mangled body, laughed madly as the giant axe in his hand shattered into pieces. An overwhelming storm of destructive energy, enough to annihilate a late-stage 4-star Do D, swept across the entire area. That energy, it's Xuni, Xiao Huanyao remarked, gazing at the explosion from afar. I didn't expect Xiao Yan to push Xuni to such an extent, Xiao Huanyao added softly. Xiao, what exactly is that technique Xuni used? A young man standing beside Xiao Huanyao asked. That's his trump card, the mountain-splitting axe's source power, Xiao Huanyao explained. The axe he wields is called the mountain-splitting axe. It can split into two during attacks, but its true strength lies in its ability to absorb the blood of its enemies, converting it into a terrifying energy stored within the axe. If Xuni is pushed to the limit, he releases that energy in one final, devastating blow. That kind of power is difficult for even me to handle, Xiao Huanyao added with a serious expression. The fact that Xiao Yan, a mere peak 3-star Do D, was able to force Xuni to use this final trump card shows that this boy is anything but ordinary. Still, no matter how much he struggles, he's just a clown in the end. When faced with a true powerhouse like you, Xiao, he'll have no choice but to admit defeat, the young man beside Xiao commented. We'll see, Xiao Huanyao responded with a faint smile, his gaze locked on the scene of the explosion, ignoring the flattery from his companion. With Xiao Huanyao's keen senses, he could tell that Xuni was at the end of his strength, but for some reason, faint traces of energy were rapidly fleeing the center of the explosion. After Xuni unleashed the final power stored within the mountain-splitting axe, a cataclysmic explosion erupted, rivaling the destructive force of the 23 flame fusion from earlier. As Xuni released his last attack, his Do Qi was utterly depleted, leaving him in a state of complete exhaustion. The immense energy wave rippled out, and Xuni's token shattered, signaling his elimination from the forest of corpses. His body vanished from the forest, and the points on his token transformed into an invisible light, transferring to Xiao Yan's token. With a casual wave, Xiao Yan allocated the points to Yuru and Mu Feng, causing both of their rankings to soar dramatically. The departure of Xuni, once ranked 11th, was now official. Xiao Yan had sensed the terrifying power of Xuni's final blow and, without hesitation, had pulled Yuru and Mu Feng away from the battlefield. His sharp intuition, bolstered by his formidable soul power, had warned him of the impending danger when Xuni had laughed maniacally just before releasing his ultimate attack. That was close, Mu Feng muttered, his eyes still wide with shock as he looked back at the terrifying explosion. Part of his amazement was how Xuni, even on the verge of defeat, had unleashed such immense power, proving the worth of his 11th ranking. Another part of his astonishment was how Xiao Yan had managed to sense the explosion and pull them away just in time. Xiao Yan, these points are too important, and Xuni was your kill from start to finish. We only assisted. It doesn't feel right to accept such a generous gift, Yuru said softly, lifting her token to return the points to Xiao Yan. Yes, you should take them back, Mu Feng chimed in, offering the same gesture. No need. You both keep them. Without your help in guarding me during my breakthrough to 4-star Do D, I wouldn't have earned these points so easily, Xiao Yan said, waving off their offers with a smile. Well, if you insist. But from now on, wherever we go, you decide. And any future points will all be yours. Mu Feng laughed heartily. As they conversed, a bright light appeared in front of them, indicating Yuru's new score of 18,000, which raised her ranking to 44th, while Mu Feng's score increased to 19,000, boosting his rank to 33rd. So, where to next? Yuru asked, biting her lip slightly as she sensed several powerful energies moving rapidly toward their previous battleground. How about we head to the third layer of the Forest of Corpses for now and lay low? We've got 15 days left until the end of the competition, Xiao Yan suggested, his gaze shifting toward the distant horizon. He had also noticed the several strong energies speeding toward their earlier location. Although these individuals were likely stronger than Xuni, Xiao Yan wasn't afraid of them. He simply saw no need to risk a life-or-death struggle before the final showdown. The third layer? Mu Feng grinned, his lips curling up. It's dangerous, but it's a good spot. I bet they won't expect us to go there. Let's move quickly. Those powerful energies are getting closer, and we don't want to get entangled with them just yet, Xiao Yan urged as he saw Yuru and Mu Feng nod in agreement. Let's go. With a quick exchange of glances, the three of them accelerated, racing toward the third layer of the Forest of Corpses. Outside the forest, in a nearby pavilion. Haha, this kid didn't disappoint me, Wu Jiang chuckled. Tisage, he's certainly exceeded my expectations, Hudu muttered in frustration. Haha, I told you, you've got to think long-term, Wu Jiang continued, unable to suppress his smile. All right, I get it. You're annoying. Hudu rolled his eyes. Wait, why is Mu Yingying heading to the third layer? Keep a close watch. If anything happens, we'll intervene. She's a valuable talent, Wu Jiang said cautiously. There's something mysterious about Mu Yingying's background. Should we investigate further? Hudu asked, glancing at a scroll with scant information about her. For now, no need. We don't want to stir up unnecessary trouble. Understood. With that, the two continued observing the various crystal orbs in front of them, ensuring they would step in if anything went wrong. Damn it! Xuni's points have been taken by them. Qiu Huanyao cursed, glaring at the sky, where Yuru and Mu Feng's ranking points flashed once more. They've been through such an intense battle. They must be exhausted and running on fumes. They can't have gone far. We should chase them, one of Qiu Huanyao's companions suggested. Fool. How do you not understand by now? Was Xiao Yan's first victory a fluke? How about the second time? You idiots! Qiu Huanyao shouted in frustration, furious that his father had saddled him with so many incompetent subordinates. I wondered who was throwing a fit here. Turns out it's you, Qiu Huanyao, a gentle voice echoed. Qiu Huanyao looked up to see a rather rotund figure standing before them. Damn it! Qiu Huanyao's expression turned grim. It's actually Luo Guang. No way. It's the third-ranked Diamond Body Luo Guang, one of Qiu Huanyao's followers exclaimed in shock. What do you want, Diamond Body Luo Guang? Qiu Huanyao asked warily. The title of Diamond Body Luo Guang was widely known throughout the selection tournament. Ranked third in the point-snatching competition, Luo Guang was infamous for his near-impenetrable defense. Even Qiu Huanyao, a late-stage 4-star Do D, found Luo Guang to be a formidable opponent. His title wasn't just for show. Luo Guang's defense was so robust that even someone of Qiu Huanyao's strength found it difficult to deal with him. Though no one knew the exact cultivation method Luo Guang practiced, in battle, his body became an impenetrable fortress. Even someone as strong as Qiu Huanyao could do little against him. Luo Guang chuckled, Oh, I'm not here for you. I'm looking for a certain fellow named Xiao Yan. Hearing this, Qiu Huanyao let out a sigh of relief before responding, that Xiao Yan seems to have realized something and already fled. In that case, I'll see him in the finals. There are only 15 days left. I doubt he'll stay hidden until the end, Luo Guang said as he vanished from sight, leaving Qiu Huanyao and his group behind. What Qiu Huanyao didn't notice was that Luo Guang had disappeared in the direction of the entrance to the second layer of the Forest of Corpses. What should we do now, young master? One of Qiu Huanyao's subordinates asked. Chase them. I'm curious to see what makes this Xiao Yan so impressive, Qiu Huanyao said, setting off in the direction Xiao Yan had escaped. Xiao Yan, Yuru, and Mu Feng hurriedly fled the Forest of Corpses. The presences of Luo Guang and Qiu Huanyao were far more powerful than that of Xuni, and now that they had enough points, it was time to lie low until the final showdown. They arrived at a dark, gloomy location, where a pitch-black tunnel appeared before them. Above the entrance were two large characters, Proceed with caution. This, Mu Feng stared at the ominous words above the tunnel, deep in thought. It's fine, Xiao Yan reassured him, placing a hand on Mu Feng's shoulder. A gentle wave of fiery energy flowed through Mu Feng's body, making him feel a soothing comfort. Let's go. With a glance at each other, the three disappeared into the second layer of the forest, heading toward the third. Outside the forest of EngSubs. Report. Someone has entered the third layer of the forest of EngSubs, a young man reported respectfully to Wu Jiang. Who? Wu Jiang asked calmly. A man carrying a large ruler, accompanied by a man and a woman, the young man replied. I see. Good work, keep it up, Wu Jiang said, nodding. Yes, sir. Encouraged by the praise, the young man disappeared back into the forest to continue monitoring the contestants. Inside the third layer of the forest, the moment they exited the dark tunnel, a thick wave of ghostly qi rushed toward them. Mu Feng's expression darkened as the oppressive energy hit them. This place reeks of ghostly qi, Mu Feng muttered grimly. As someone who had spent years dealing with ghostly creatures, Mu Feng knew that the more intense the qi, the stronger the spirits it harbored. Mu Feng, what's wrong? Yuru asked, noticing Mu Feng performing a series of strange hand signs. Nothing. I'm casting a spell to protect us from the ghostly qi's corrosion, Mu Feng said as he began chanting softly. Once he finished, 3 streams of gray light shot toward Xiao Yan, Yuru, and himself. As soon as the gray light touched their bodies, it formed an invisible barrier that blocked the ghostly qi from invading. This power is quite peculiar, Xiao Yan commented in admiration. While Xiao Yan was protected by his own formidable flames, Yuru and Mu Feng lacked such a defense. The third layer of the forest of EngSubs had an even denser concentration of ghostly qi, and they could feel their do qi being suppressed. But under the protection of Mu Feng's gray light, the strange suppression vanished completely. Clearly, Mu Feng was well-versed in dealing with ghostly entities. Everyone, stay alert. The spirits in this third layer are far more powerful, Mu Feng warned coldly as the 3 cautiously continued forward. Chime, are you sure it's here? The phantom spring ghost spirit stared down into a well in front of him, eyes filled with doubt. While he knew that half of the twin ghost emperor's power had been sealed within the third layer of the forest, he wasn't certain about the exact location. I'm sure. My intuition tells me it's right here. Then let's go down, the malevolent ghost spirit replied. Without waiting for a response, the malevolent ghost spirit leapt into the well. We should go too, Hongyi said, reluctantly following behind. Despite her deep unwillingness, she had no choice but to cooperate with them for the sake of a certain individual. Let's move, the phantom spring ghost spirit commanded before transforming into a streak of light and plunging into the well. The malevolent ghost spirit, phantom spring ghost spirit, and Hongyi, the master of Crimson Valley, entered the well, leaving behind the Crimson Valley members and various ghostly creatures on the surface, awaiting further orders. Heh, this is getting interesting, a familiar figure remarked from outside the well. Upon closer inspection, it was none other than Mu Lu. Let's go. It's time for me to meet these so-called experts of the points snatching competition, Mu Lu said with a sinister smile, his aura now completely indistinguishable from the surrounding ghostly energy. You think you're in charge just because the malevolent and phantom spring ghost spirits are gone? A figure radiating terrifying ghostly qi stepped forward to confront Mu Lu. You dare defy me? With the 2 lords gone, I'm in command here. Mu Lu snapped, clearly angered by the disobedience of the ghostly creature. Ridiculous. You, a mere 4-star do-di, think you can command us? Take a good look in the mirror. One of the Crimson Valley members stepped forward, joining in the dissent. The Crimson Valley followers, while loyal to their leader Hongyi, had no idea that they were dealing with beings from the ghost realm. If they had known, they would have attacked immediately. They were clearly unwilling to act as sacrificial pawns for Mu Lu, who had miscalculated in assuming control over them. Damn it! How dare they defy me? I'll make sure to deal with them later. Mu Lu fumed internally, mentally noting the rebels so he could punish them once the situation allowed. He calmed down and turned his gaze back to the well, where strands of ghostly qi continued to rise before the area settled into silence once more. Long E, You said that the greatest treasure in the entire forest of corpses is located on the third layer, right? Xiao Yan asked as he slowly communicated with the ruler spirit embedded in his ancient ruler of heavenly flames.